The Metropolitan Museum of Art was incorporated in 1870 in the aftermath of the Civil War as part of a broad view of the city's needs promoted by Frederick Law Olmsted and a group of other public men. For the purpose, as they said, of encouraging and developing the study of the fine arts and the application of arts to manufacture and practical life, and, to that end, of furnishing popular instruction. Now, in its second century, the museum has set out to implement a comprehensive plan, a plan directed not so much to growth as to internal development, organizing its galleries and presenting its exhibits in a way that will offer a new level of hospitality to the out-of-town visitor, the child growing up in the city, the citizen and the scholar. The building will turn a friendlier face toward the park to which it belongs, will become a richer and more open resource in the life of the city. Every museum has responsibilities to the artifacts themselves, to conserve them physically, but also to keep life circulating around them. Responsibilities to the disciplines of history and connoisseurship, and responsibilities to the larger community, the city, which is at the same time its landlord and its guest. It is the community that is now posing new demands. Not that the museum's present audience is visually unsophisticated. In a world of insistent public imagery that draws on every style, every device, where the accredited masterpieces of all times are brought side by side in reproduction, the city where sculpture is part of the working landscape and new painting appears outdoors at every level, everyone has a visual experience richer and more sophisticated than the founders of the museum could have dreamed of. The museum has no box office problem. The demands for gallery talks, for group visits, for teaching, for information are growing every year and have begun to accelerate. But there is an immediate need for a new kind of service to make the whole museum, the 15 acres of museums within the museum, more communicative to the public. A need for a key to the scale, the content, and the anatomy of the collections. The museum now proposes, as part of the new comprehensive plan, to set aside the ground floor of the south wing and to make of it an eloquent and intriguing experience from which a visitor can take as much or little as he chooses. The south, the downtown end of the space, will house the expanded activities of the Junior Museum. To the north is the proposed information hall. Between the two is a large foyer which is presently used for sales of color reproductions. This area can be entered directly from the parking garage, from the main floor by stairs or elevator, or from Fifth Avenue by the 81st Street door, which will be used by many more visitors once the new Rockefeller wing is open. The Junior Museum offers to growing children their own special access to the museum's fine things. It can provide an experience with something of the quality of ceremony that has always belonged to the attentive use of tools. A connecting thread between the marvelous and the most familiar. The staff can draw on many devices to build up a feeling from method and context and the shapes and colors of man-made things, to offer a child a direct handle on the things he will soon find in the galleries upstairs. And in the open central lobby, displays addressed to the young visitor, moving at his own pace, provide a range of self-contained, direct experiences. Aspects of perception. Insights into how things got the way they are. The information hall is something quite different. For the individual visitor of any age, it offers a central guide to the collections, an information resource that he can draw on at any stage of his acquaintance with the museum. The gallery is a wide space divided by piers into two long aisles with apses at the far end. From the outset, it should clearly promise a spacious overview, an open map in which things have their place, suggesting already that the treasures of the museum are more than just one precious thing after another. One entire aisle is given over to a three-dimensional walk-through timeline, which groups the things in the collections by time and place and holds in clear relation the successive and overlapping civilizations from which they come. Along a constant time scale, on islands corresponding to the museum's holdings, key images from the collections and some real things taken from storage are set among supporting material of context and comparison. And local patches of more detailed information about collectors and the patterns of collecting how each particular time and place is represented in the museum, which pieces are the most typical and the most special, and how they fit into the story, the areas where the collections are the richest and where others outshine them. At the far end of this chronological walk is an exedra, where people can pause, converse, see and be seen, and where small seminar groups can gather. The other half of the gallery holds all kinds of specific information about the museum and its contents. It opens with a pavilion which tells the story of the museum itself, the city climate in which it was born, the special combination of civic and private support that made it possible, the great professionals and amateurs who shaped the collections, the early windfalls, the disappointments, and the triumphs. Next is an open area with a collection of special purpose information devices. A computer terminal which can retrieve items from the catalog of permanent exhibits by a sequence of intersecting choices and display its image on a screen. A guide to all 3 floors of the museum which can help plan a tour and provide a printout to take along. Current information about events of interest all over the city, and late-breaking worldwide art and archaeological news stories. Closed-circuit television giving a clue to how many people are visiting which special exhibitions, and push-again boxes offering a shower of close-up images that may help the eye to slow down when it comes to, say, small sculpture at its real scale in the galleries. There are some ideas which can best be presented on film to an isolated viewer who's willing to be held for a few minutes by a single topic. A cluster of glass kiosks allow a visitor or a small group to choose from a menu of videotapes. A passerby can listen in from outside. And in the small theater beyond, a program of short films is scheduled. One show will invite the visitor to put himself in the place of client, of consumer rather than artist. The demands of the user have almost always been at least as important to the look of a thing as the role of its maker. The story of space in pictures, how painters have discovered coherent ways of mapping 3 dimensions onto 2. The life of a single motif is a clue to evolving style. Some production techniques and their consequences for form. Symmetry, an essay on its uses and varieties. An example of the impact of one culture on another and what it reveals of the unfamiliar content of familiar images. Surface ornaments, a celebration. The shape of implements of daily life. For special collections, there are displays at intervals through the gallery. The collection of musical instruments, the American wing, the Department of Prints, the collection of arms and armor, the Islamic Museum, the Costume Institute. The scale and richness of this museum give it an opportunity like no other to provide fresh juxtapositions and cross-references among all the worlds of the visual arts. The information hall will take advantage of this richness to provide an experience available nowhere else, an immediate service to the seasoned museum goer and others, a place where all the resources of the museum are pulled together and summed up. It can be a conclusion or an invitation to help the visitor grasp what is here, to help him know his way about, and if need be, to remind him of his own footing in relation to the things themselves, to remind him that his own knowledge of life and of things, his own loves, his own curiosity, are all he needs to begin.